Hey everyone, it's November 13th and high time for an update on the AI cold calling system. So I just want to walk through and clarify, we're getting very much over the hump. And that was this past week of work on tweaking for at least acceptable percentages in all cases. Acceptable in the phone menu, acceptable in voicemail, acceptable with live. The conversation's running right, no latency issues. Not talking to an IVR, the phone menu system is an IVR, interactive voice recording. Not talking to that, but actually engaging with that and hitting buttons and knowing which button to hit and being able to do things like hit one for directory and then type the first three letters of the last name you're looking for and being able to look that up and type the right numbers, doing that automatically to continue through the IVR to the right place. And then, of course, when you get there, are you going to reach a live person or are you going to reach a voicemail, right? And what if another IVR says, hey, you can go into the directory and leave a voicemail for somebody or just leave a voicemail here and we'll get back to you. And so these are all the totally different situations that come up. So we've been focused this past week on all this kind of thing. I'm just going to give you a quick overview, just like a list here, right? Starting last week. The assistant's commenting actions and doesn't listen to the beeps and music for hold on case. Try assistant to prolong the call for beeps and music. Prompt involved, where that's improving a prompt. If beeps or hold music is detected, say a natural phrase every 10 seconds up to a maximum of 3 times to prevent the call from timing out due to silence, because we have timeout settings. So examples of neutral phrases include hello, I'm still here, just checking in. The tech phrases like can you hold please or please hold or is a hold request. Understand that and wait silently without response until the person returns. All these things have to be dictated out clearly and carefully for all the different cases to get an acceptable rate of success in the IVR systems and an acceptable rate of success with voicemail and an acceptable rate of success with live humans. So then set the follow-up needed if call ended on voicemail assistant, and that's been fixed. There was an issue there. Check why it pressed DTMF in the middle of voicemail message. Improve the prompt to overcome that. Weird success evaluation sometimes improve the prompt. Just on and on. So take a look at this. In this past week, this was last Wednesday. It is now Wednesday again. Just in this past week, okay? I just want to walk through and give you a sense of how much happens in just the course of the time here towards perfection, to have reliable statistics to move forward with, like numbers that are good enough that we can calculate sensible results from these things. Okay, so I'm just showing you that we are not lying around in a hammock. We've been hard at work on this stuff, and it's awesome. So yeah, we're pretty much over the hump. I'm going to show you the rest in a minute. Let me just go ahead and fade through the transition on that. All right, I want to point this out real quick just so we can get the idea. So I kind of left off showing you a file like this before with all the different things that we've been doing to make this stuff work. And so all the different industries, all the documents for those. So if I were to go to one of those, just to give you a sense of it, we started tracking statistics on the calls. So we've got our total statistics for our total calls, and out of them, how many are evaluated as success, how many were do not call. We were requested not to call back. Not that we have to, but because it's B2B, but it's always good to know why irritate people. So if we do call them back, it'll be from a different phone number with a different voice with a different pitch, to see if they are interested in a different pitch angle. That's, in cases where we feel like that makes sense to do. Follow-up calls, we've got a lot. That's really good. That's cases where it just makes sense. Our system recorded that it needs to follow up in some form, like to either send an email, or to call back again a different day. So those things that add up to follow-ups fall into this category. It's really cool. How many emails do we capture from the calls? How many phone numbers did we capture where somebody said, talk to Tom at this phone number? In other words, we were given a direct in at that guy, to that guy. This stuff is cool. So emails go into newsletter, phone calls, that's for follow-up, but now we know who to call, the new guy, not the main desk. That's cool. Total, and so we might call the new guy several times over the course of a couple of weeks with some different offers, different numbers, but we're calling the right guy. We're not calling the front desk. Okay, total voicemail assistant only, where we wound up leaving a voicemail, okay, or trying to. Total appointment assistant calls. So we weren't even focused on that with this whole setup. We just haven't been focused on booking a call yet. We've been focused on the other stuff we're doing to get all that down. And then total industry assistant calls when we're talking to somebody live. So like a third of the time. Anyway, check it out. The average call duration is about 42 seconds. The average count of users saying something is 2. So far, so good. We'd love to see this get up. That means that we're having more conversations at a higher level. But we've been tracking this since we started tracking calls. So this is skewed towards the worst performance that we had in the beginning. It is getting better. Total peer, a lot of the times we didn't even get to a live human through the IVR. Total peer voicemail system calls, 460, of which we successfully left a voicemail 215 times out of 460. Total success, therefore, is about 46.74%. A number, a useful number. If we can claim that we're dropping voicemails at about every other voicemail, like for every 2 voicemails that we aim for, we drop one. Beautiful. That's a good number. Now, by the way, we figured out how we can improve that dramatically. And also, that's the beginning of a second step. Then what do we have? We have total DMF applicable calls. How many of the calls required that we dial 1 for this, 2 for that, dial whatever letter numbers correspond to the first 3 letters of the last name. DTMF, that's dial, tone, whatever the heck it is, I forget. But it means pressing numbers on the keypad. So like 58. How many were successful? About 18. Again, skewed towards the worst performance we had in the beginning. We've been spending a lot of time on this, so that number's understated. We're doing better now. So the navigation success calls was like 31%, but we're doing better now. So, even getting that thing up at all, I love it. And at a third, for every 3 phone menus we get stuck in, if we pull through, if we come out the other end of one of those 3, either to a voicemail or a live person that we were aiming for, that's success. And if it's 1 and 3, great, we have a number, okay? So are the numbers the same for all the industries? Not necessarily, because of course there's variations within the industries, but the fact that we started with DUI, which has the highest percentage of DTMF, that is the phone menus that require that you click on things to get places, that gives us one of the hardest cases to work with. Like I said, phone menus can be press 1 for sales, 2 for support, but other phone menus can be press 1 for Mr. Smith or 2 for Mrs. Johnson. Other phone menus can be press 1 for Blake and Blake Law Firm LLC or 2 for Smith, Smith and Smith Attorneys. Okay, and then once you get there, press 1 for Mr. Smith or 2 for Mrs. Robinson. And then press 1 if you're a current client, or 2 if you're a new client, or 3 if you have another situation. Or it's just press 1 if you're a current client to a new client, 2 if you're a current client. And you have to decide, do I continue and either try to talk to somebody as though I'm a new client, or am I going to drive them nuts with that? Should I just back up into the phone menu and go some other route? Because usually you can do it. So all these things, right? Doesn't mean we're going to navigate every phone menu perfectly. It's going to be too hard. But the fact that we're pushing our way up that ladder is great. Okay, we cover better and better penetration through everything. Also, sometimes there are just some human verification checks. You call a number and they say, great, thanks for calling. Press 3 to get connected. And you have to press 3, or something. There needs to be something there. So nifty tricks, really, really good. Anyway, we're getting numbers, and that's important. Real numbers for well-organized results. So I'm going to show you in a minute. But anyway, For each of the voices, Jesse's one voice, James is another. For his total non-voicemail calls, how many did he make? For James's total non-voicemail calls, how many did he make? Now, we've been using James longer. Jesse's success, Jesse we just got going with. James' success is here, and again, all these are skewed towards when we started, right? And so anyway, but we're getting the numbers we want. As we go forward, we just figure out more of what we're after. Total industry assistant calls, of which, what was the success when and this means it's shorthand for saying we spoke with somebody live in the industry, not a voicemail, no longer stuck in the IVR. We're out of the IVR. We're talking to a live human. 217 out of the 600, whatever it was, total calls, 677. And for those 217 where we spoke to a live person, we had 22 good calls. Again, skewed to the beginning. Okay, so successful conversations was 10%, where we had a conversation with somebody who was probably going to tell us, no, I don't want it, in polite terms. But see, getting the numbers really, really matters. And again, these numbers are skewed because they account for the beginning when we were just working on all this stuff. How do we make this stuff better? Anyway, when we get through and we talk to a live human, we work on the prompts to get the prompts better, right? The actual pitch prompts, right? The pitches. So we have full stats, total success is 35%. DTMF navigation, 31%. Industry assistant, meaning live human conversations, 10% success. And voicemail assistant, basically 1 and 2, right? And so we've got our little dials here we're keeping up. And that way we're actually able to see like where we are and what it takes to drive that dial all the way across, to full speed. So this is really cool because these graphs and these breakdowns, these numbers just tell us everything we need to know. Total calls, success evaluated, do not call, follow up, the emails we captured, the phone numbers we captured, the total conversations, with and without success, total appointments, we didn't aim for it yet, and then total industry assistance where we did, total voicemail, of course, 460 attempts at the voicemail, 217 attempts at the human conversations. Okay, so we're just working on all this stuff, getting all this stuff to make sense. So that's like main statistics followed by how we're doing with it. Does that make sense? And then we're playing with even more. Take a look at this. So if we go a little further in the DUI industry where we also have numbers like this, okay, because we're working both. We're doing sort of a beta test of some items in one of these industries, and then we're aiming for our foundational production model in another industry. So we're going to do production model where we know what our numbers are. We're going to just work with that, full gun it, and say that's it. Go all out for prompts, and we'll add a bunch of leads, and let's just go. Now, the other industry and or industries, but one at a time we're adding in. We're doing different beta tests, one at a time, very specific things to iron out something. And then from the success of that, whatever's better, we incorporate into the production model to make the production model better. So we're still gung-hoing it, but we got our beta running alongside, and that's beta A. We also started talking about beta B and C to cover some other totally unrelated tests we want to do. Take the best of the betas, pile them into the production as we go, right? Just to make them better. So in the meantime, that drives us to keep creating more charts. Yeah, that's the inbound statistics and how well we're doing on it. Why did the calls end? Was it ending because the customer ended the call? Was it ending because the customer did not answer? Or because there was just too much time dead on the line, like being stuck in the IVR? How many went to voicemail? Where is it that we had something really good? Like the assistant said, thank you very much, have a nice day. In other words, it was a good call or something like that. Even if the call was no, thank you, we're not interested, still the process went to the end where the assistant said, okay, I'm supposed to be done pitching. It says to itself, I'm supposed to end the call here, and it does, and that's considered a successful call, right? Then, of course, how many calls we had a timeout due to absolute silence, And so we're just going through all this stuff, right? Look at this, scatter charts for the call duration, the number of seconds on a call. So we can see how many times we wound up on a call for like over 3 minutes. We can dial into this stuff. We can look this stuff up in the actual call logs. That's called the lead list over here. And we can scroll down and find that number, the 188.124, the 188 number for call duration, or we can sort by call duration, and we can, listen to the actual recordings, look at the transcripts, and see why some of these calls are so long. How many of them have to do with silence timed out, right? So that we can deal with it. We can figure out what happened there. We learned that the assistants do not recognize music in the background. If they hear elevator music, they don't know they're on hold. They don't hear that. They only hear dead silence, right? So when we're navigating IVR and when we're navigating voicemails, we have to be able to tell it very clearly what it's supposed to notice in the human answers, human conversations. Because the whole listen for a beep, guess what it doesn't hear? The beep. Leave a message after the tone. There is never going to be a tone that it can hear at this time, right? And so we have to teach it how to react to that stuff. It's part of all the stuff we've been doing. Kind of user messages. And by the way, for all the guys who have systems like this out there that they're playing with, we discovered talking with a few of them that they haven't been able to find answers to this either. And when they show examples of winning messages, there are a few that are really good and many that are really bad, and they just don't know what to do about it. They're waiting for the AIs to figure it out for them, where in the meantime, we've been diving in and teaching it when you hear leave a message after the tone to count to 4 and then leave a message. Things like that, to wait 4 seconds and then leave a message. We can say things like that. There are other things that we do, but we've been doing it by actually paying attention and tracking this stuff so that we can see what we can do to improve, manually to improve the output quality. And that really matters. A lot of people, when they do this stuff, they're calling residences, and either they're going to get a human or a voicemail. But when we call companies, we wind up in an IVR, right? You don't usually have an IVR at home. Hi, you have reached the Bennett household. For David, please press 1. For Alex Bennett, please press 2. For Vincent Bennett, please press 3. We don't have that going on at home, right? So that makes calling residences much easier, but calling businesses, there's just more to it. However, the industries are different. Like we find with plumbing, that we're not hardly getting IVRs with plumbing. That's the lowest rate of IVRs we've seen yet. It's either humans or voicemail. Not almost all the time, but the highest proportion of the time. So industries are different this way, and it's very interesting to go through the stuff and figure out what's going on. So we've done more calls and fewer calls. Days we do very few calls. It's because we're still working on the programming updates before we try another test, right? And then we're like, okay, we think we got it, and then we do, lower runs where we're verifying, and then we're like, okay, try it again, But that's where we started here to get our bearings. How many things are we bad about? And then we just started going through, and then we said, okay, now figure it out, test, now figure it out, test. Much more controlled environment here of us knowing what we're doing compared to what we were doing, right? Big deal. For the inbound calls per day, we were tracking how many calls come in and what we're doing with them. So again, we're getting better and better at how to deal with this stuff, industry by industry. I'm telling you, it's so cool. Leads list, we're just tracking everyone we called, where we got the leads from, what they're like. Oh, crap, I probably shouldn't even be on this page. I'm going to have to block this out for YouTube, or YouTube will block the video update. KPI, kind of the same thing. Is we're going through transcript stuff, and we're going through what's happening and whether we're hitting those key performance indicators. This stuff creates the data that feeds the statistics, and the statistics create the data that feed the charts. Okay? Then all of that with outbound statistics and inbound statistics and calls that need to be reviewed. What happened right or wrong in this call? What happened right or wrong in this call? What happened right or wrong in this call? And so on. These things allow us to really dive in and tweak, make better decisions about the absolute results. There's a joke there. James sounded so tired, meaning we tired out our own assistant keeping up with our instructions. So, boy. So anyway, yeah, things that are really important. So we color code some of these, and we're just going through all this. It's really, really cool because we've covered more ground than anyone I know in terms of technical analysis of the quality of the calls that we make and the results that we get from that. I remember in the old days, we were robocalling and they would tell us how many calls were sent. It took a long time before I started looking into the measurements before I realized sent has very little to do with received. Sent means that it left our system, but received has a lot to do with our reputation. So very often phone calls would not be received if we had been marked as spammers sending, right? So without data, all you can do is try to see if you're getting a better or a worse result. But with data like we have, we are always able to update and control and deal with everything. If we get hit for spam on some of the numbers, we just drop them and get new numbers to replace them. We made it really easy to replace numbers in our system. In the meantime, we went out of our way to verify who we are as a business, what it is we're offering, why we call the guys we call, and we stick with business to business, and we don't really have a problem anymore with our numbers being marked as spam. We did in the beginning because it turns out that's the default, right? Until we go through a bunch of other hoops and prove who we are and what we do so that our numbers quit getting marked as spam probable, and so we did all that. Okay, I want to go into the rest of it, but it's getting a little kind of confidential in terms of what it is we're doing because I don't hear anyone else speaking about doing things the way we are. I'll just say this. We are hyper tracking everything so that we can get really clear answers so that we can rapidly assess everything we're doing right, everything we're doing wrong, and everything in the middle, so that we can rapidly move in the right direction and drop what we're doing that's moving in the wrong direction. And we're not doing it alone. We've got AI helping us accomplish this. So part of it's just logic, part of it's human interaction, part of it's AI. Eventually, AI will do more of the human interaction anyway, based on the logic. But what I'll say is we can tell which of our pitches are working and what parts of the pitches make them work best so that we can keep refining. And the rest of it is all this other stuff we've been doing till now. Getting those percentages up for navigating IVR, for leaving a successful voicemail, and for having a proper conversation with somebody. Most of the people talk. Sometimes it becomes clear it's a bot. Sometimes it doesn't. In those cases where it does, it's not bothering them for the reasons we thought, because it's very helpful. The things that kill me are when they ask what our phone number is and we tell it to them way too fast. So we have to get in there and really get it to understand to spell the numbers out every single time. Some of the voices operate better that way than others. So it's actually something we have to test voice by voice. And some of the voices accept us telling it to spell the numbers out in words and some don't. And so it's interesting because we're figuring all this out in real time, but we're getting extremely good at that. It's just which voices do we like the most and do what we want the most. So yeah. Anyway, just to let you know, we're really all over it. We've got tabs for rates and weights, and we've got tabs for first messages, prompts, pitches, calls to action, and all the stuff we're doing with all of this is just constant tracking. And that way we can, by monitoring, we can make improvements, see how it goes, and let the system naturally weigh the better results and make calls using the better results and follow along. So yeah, we're really close to where we want to be. I'd say we're going over that hump finally. I keep thinking we're there, but now we're there where we have the numbers, right? And by that I mean this. These followed by that. Those two things are huge. And there's more. We also decided some other stuff that's going to take some of these numbers and really drive them up. But I won't cover that now. I'll just let it go. So yeah, we're going to get back on this stuff and make some changes. And I think I'll be putting another update out in about a week. And when I do, I can't wait to say where we are in a week. I think it's really going to be interesting. I think some of these numbers are certainly going to be higher. The hardest one's going to be the DTMF stuff. But we're getting there. In the meantime, as far as voicemail and live conversations are concerned, those numbers are definitely going to go up. The success rate's going to go up too. And yeah, we're going to be really close to where we want to be. And if you remember, it doesn't take much, right? That was the whole point. It doesn't take much to get huge results out of this because we can scale those results, but we have to make sure we're at least hitting that minor amount and able to scrunch it up from there. So that's exactly what we're doing, and we're very close. And I'm so glad that we've been doing this across different industries to see how their dynamics are different so that we can, attend to such a wide array of cases that come up. All right, I'll let it go. And yeah, I'll be back in about a week. We'll see where we are. But we could really be on top of it. Like within a week, we might be ready for scale in at least a couple of these industries, if not all. And DUI is part of the structure, but you guys are in that portfolio where we'll move you where we need to move you. Okay? So whatever it is that we hit that just, rubber meets the concrete and takes off, we'll get you there. We'll get you wherever we need to get you for it to work out. Don't you worry. There's a lot of reason for the way we're doing it this way, and that's to make sure that we cover it, but we know what we're doing like we never did before. And yeah, we're close. All right. Talk to you soon, and I hope you enjoyed this update. If you enjoyed this update, give me a thumbs up. Just let me know that you actually watched it through and that so far so good and that you're on board and that you see what's going on. Because I'll tell you what, it's blood, sweat, and tears over here. We have been pounding away, sometimes straight through the weekends, just building this system to really perform. The other guys out there, when they say their systems perform, they're performing at like a 5% level if they have to go through an IVR. And they may not even have DTMF enabled. Many guys don't. There are cases where they can't really transfer an assistant, and sometimes they just do not know how to deal with variables smartly at all. They don't even know if the phone numbers are calling the right time zones, and sometimes they don't have a way of making that work. They say do it manually. I mean, that's crazy. Running batches of campaigns manually. Yeah, no, we're way ahead of that. So we've got a system that's going to work, and we'll be able to put pretty much anything through it. And guys want to come in eventually with scripts where they want to run things. If we approve it, if we say, hey, that's something we can do through our system, we can make something like that available. So all you guys who paid in, all you guys who are in, there's going to be as much as we can give you to thank you for helping us get this far. It's so huge. And there are a lot of things that we can do with our systems as well. For those of you guys who always wanted to be like affiliates in our systems and earn a cut of things that we sell, but at a level that'll work, a big level where it makes sense, there are a lot of things we're going to be able to do here very, very soon with pretty much all these businesses that we like to go after. And even if it comes to strict voicemail drops, it's going to be a function in the system. Talk about getting the voicemail percentage up, the success rate on voicemails. It's the idea that we intentionally aim scrumps to call after hours. And we just voicemail drop all those guys. So that can be the same guys we call during the day too. So it's two approaches. But anybody that we didn't get through to or get through properly to during the day, we can follow up at night with a voicemail drop anyway. And we could drop another voicemail drop some other time. One thing about voicemail drop, they can't tell us not to call back. And if we're doing it business to business, it's not an issue. So we can make pitches, sensible pitches to companies where we can offer them all kinds of things, stuff to deal with their Google Ads, stuff to replace their website, code snippets to put into their existing websites, where we can monitor things and give them feedback. There's all this stuff we can do. We could create the network of other sites that backlinks their main site and passes sales through to them. There's all this other stuff we can do. So yeah, it's pretty amazing how many offers we can make to these guys through our system. And pretty soon we're going to have prompts that make sense for all of this. And we're going to be able to offer different things, useful. All right. So I'll get back to you before long. And yeah, again, if you like what's going on, give me a thumbs up. It just gives me a chance to see what's up. I got to fly to see a friend. He's depressed over election results. And I haven't seen him in a long time. And he just broke up with his girl too. So I'm going to go and see the guy. So I'll be gone over the weekend. I'll be back. I'll be in touch with my crew, making sure all the stuff is going on. We're to the point where little tweaks plus prompts, testing the actual scripts, is pretty much where we're at. And we're aiming for very simple call to actions right now. We were aiming for collecting a voice, an email address, or a phone number. And for the email addresses that go into the newsletters, for the phone numbers, it's call a guy back without going through the main desk. All these things are valuable for follow-ups, right, in the different industries. So yeah, it all adds up. Pretty soon, it's going to be book a call. Okay, so that'll be starting next week probably when I'm back and straight. All right. Yeah, leave me a thumbs up if you like it. Otherwise, I'll talk to you next week. Peace out.